Well, over the years, as the United States and Russia, and before that the United States and Soviet Union, have participated in arms control negotiations, they've learned a lot about each other. They've had discussions about their nuclear forces, about their plans and operations. They've learned to understand each other's interests. So in addition to producing agreements and treaties that restrict the forces and show signs of restraint, they've provided transparency and cooperation that have helped manage the nuclear competition. For years, people have focused on the treaties and agreements that have come out of the negotiations. So beginning back in the 1970s, we've put limits on the numbers of missile defense interceptors, on the numbers of launchers for offensive weapons, on the numbers of warheads that can be carried on those missiles. But they've also consisted of less formal, less legally binding agreements. We've had cooperation in monitoring and verification that has provided transparency. We've had notifications of events like missile launches and strategic exercises, and we've had agreements on basic norms guiding our behavior and approach to each other to help reduce the risk of nuclear war. Well, many of these difficulties have been evident for years, and particularly since the New START Treaty entered into force. The United States and Russia don't have the same vision about the role of arms control in our relationship or about the agenda for what we should be limiting in arms control agreements. The United States has preferred an agreement or a process that focuses on the numbers and characteristics of offensive nuclear weapons, including not just the ones that are limited under New START, but ones that can be used in shorter range, non-strategic endeavors, and also Russia's new types of delivery systems. So the United States has focused on the delivery of warheads in an offensive way. Russia, in contrast, has seen an agenda that should focus on a wider range of strategic capabilities, including missile defenses and conventional weapons that can fly to strategic and create strategic effect. So in the absence of an agreed agenda, there really isn't even yet a starting point on what we should be doing in the next arms control agreement. And then you add on to that the political challenges we face for most of the last 10 years, with differences over the security structures in Europe, with Russia's annexation of Crimea, and more recently the crisis in Ukraine, with US approaches to deploying missile defenses and supporting its allies. Each side has complaints and concerns about the relationship more broadly. So we don't have a process going forward that as yet can capture the concerns on both sides. It seems that the first step should be something that we did often in the 1960s and 1970s, and that's figure out what serves our national security interests. For both the United States and Russia, arms control is a process that bolsters national security. It's not just about limiting weapons, it's about bringing transparency and predictability to the relationship. So if we're starting over with that kind of process, it's important to keep communications channels open, to agree on rules of the road that don't exacerbate nuclear risks, and to understand what forces and capabilities and weapon systems each finds both necessary and threatening, so that we can find an agenda to eventually pursue arms control in the future. But in the meantime, transparency, communication, risk reduction, those things that seemed like the sidelines of arms control for most of the Cold War, it's a good place to start again to serve our national security interests for both countries, to figure out what it is each is looking for and each needs from the process.